my cousins and I are honored to give you a glimpse of the remarkable woman grandmother was through our eyes. She was certainly one of a kind, free-spirited, unconventional, and ahead of her time. She taught me to be fearless, find my own passion in life, and go after it with everything I had. Something I drew on every time I was faced with a new role as a dancer on stage, a new hurdle in my classroom as a teacher, and most recently as a mother to my own children, which seems to present unlimited challenges almost every day. Grandmother went back to school as a mother of 9, combining each of my challenges into one and conquering them all at once, it seemed, as she graduated on time with excellent grades and then further moved on to a master's degree. Grandmother was one of my biggest cheerleaders as a dancer and choreographer, always coming on opening night and bringing friends or other members of our family with her, and afterwards proudly introducing me as the star of the show, whether I just stood and held flowers in the back or danced the lead. She was also always interested in what I was up to, what I was teaching at the time, what I was reading at the time, and several years ago, thanked me for making her not just a grandmother, but now made her really great, as she said it, as a great-grandmother. However, just hearing about and witnessing her many accomplishments as a woman, a look at the family she created as a mother and grandmother, and the way she lived her life with strength and passion is true testimony to how she was already great for her former 84 years prior to this new title.
We all remember Grandmother Rosalie as being thoughtful, affectionate, creative, and resourceful. But some of my fondest memories with her were spent in her most natural state as a teacher. On more occasions than I can remember, I would make my way from Nathaniel Green Middle School to Cathedral Avenue to work on essays, book reports, presentations. It never mattered the nature of the assignment or the subject. She probably knew more on the subject than my teacher did. She would always make it a point to confirm the final grade that we earned together and would always challenge any points deducted. One of the most lovable things about Grandmother was that she had a unique relationship with every grandchild and did everything she could to make us all feel special individually. The community of Providence and all of the Nocera family will miss her dearly, as she left an impression on everyone everywhere she went.
So this was actually a very hard task, I think, for all of us to come up with one story, one memory to share, because she is an undescribable woman, and it was very difficult, I know, as I talked to everyone, for us to come up with one thing that really defined her to one of us. But as I thought about which memory I wanted to share today, I kept thinking about the sleepovers that Grandmother would host for my sister and I. We would go to her house, which was filled to the brim with dolls. We would spend our evening watching Shirley Temple movies, and then for dinner, we would have pink strawberry cream cheese sandwiches. I would leave the next day thinking, wow, this lady has got it all figured out. She lives every little girl's dream life. And life goals, I want to be just like her when I grow up. She would tell us stories of her life, weaving in lessons, sometimes subtly and sometimes not so subtly. Ever the teacher. Lessons like always defend yourself. Stand up when something is not right. She was independent and strong. She was a progressive thinker, and she blazed her own path. She impacted my life, and the lives of many others. Though I gave up the dreams of living in a house filled with dolls and eating pink sandwiches for dinner, I still hold myself to the lessons she taught me, and in these ways, I still aspire to be like my grandmother and think I always will.
Grandmother Rosalie was always able to bring our large family together. We would always go to her house for Christmas, and the house would be filled. And it never seemed like there was enough space in our living room, but somehow we were all able to fit in a large circle, and we were all able to catch up on each other's lives, share stories, and have laughs. She would always be so interested in our lives and always try to help out, whether it was advice or it was something to help out. That was who she was. She was always interested in our lives and always willing to offer her wisdom. I know that she is a part of the reason we, her grandchildren, all have become successful in pursuing our goals and dreams, and I know she is proud of all of us and lives on through us.
So I live a little bit further away from Providence, but was lucky enough to crash Marisa and Mia's sleepover parties sometimes. And likewise, walked away always feeling like this was the best time you could ever have. But my strongest feeling when I think about Grandmother Rosalie is that she was really the first person to instill a sense of feminism in me, whether or not she intended that, but she was really truly the first person to tell me that you know, to never listen to anyone that said I couldn't do anything just because I was a girl, or that like I couldn't, you know, just because if a man could do it, so could I. And that is truly kind of from like the time I was 6, she was telling me that. I walk away. When I think about her, I just think about how incredibly proud and strong and independent she always was, and it's something I'll carry with me forever.
They say a simple act of kindness creates a ripple that's endless. Her spirit touched so many people in her years of life. Her family and friends will always remember her as a role model and a leader. I'll always remember the holidays that we spent together, and she had such a sense of communion whenever she was around family, and she always filled the room with laughs and always was willing to give some advice. So I think I speak for everyone when we wish her to rest in a peaceful paradise.
Hey everyone, my name is Amato. I'm Joe's son. Because our family, Kate's brother, grew up a little ways away from Providence, I didn't spend quite as much time with grandmother as many of you did. And that fact right now actually really saddens me. But I was around her enough to sort of come to recognize all the qualities that you guys speak of. But there's one memory that's really burned into my brain and I will forever remember. Last November, I took a trip here to Providence to go to an academic conference. And to my surprise, my 90-year-old grandmother was like, yeah, I want to go. And I was like, okay. And let me tell you about these academic conferences. They're stuffy and they're awkward, and I'm there as a graduate student, so I'm here, I'm presenting my research, and I'm pretending to be a professor, hoping they'll like me and accept me in their tribe. But I have to say, grandmother thrived in that environment. I mean, when question time came, hand went up. And she started talking about when she was a teacher. And you know, the discussion I had given was on race and discrimination, and she talked about how she had experienced that and how she had fought back about that in Providence, in the schools. And then, after it was all done, she started going up to people and saying, wasn't he great? Wasn't my grandson great? And people's response were, yeah, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. So, and that was grandmother. Not afraid to speak up. True to herself always. And those are qualities that I think will be dearly missed. and frankly qualities that like I hope to embody in my life. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Molly, and this tribute was written by my siblings and I. 9 children, 18 grandchildren, 4 great-grandchildren, 90 years of life. Making her life with a mathematician, numbers were always a focal point in grandmother's life. But all of these numbers pale in comparison to the number of lessons grandmother taught each of us. Whether it be helping us with homework, taking us to the library, or locating a book for us, grandmother was always there for us. Grandmother never missed an opportunity to teach us a lesson, even if it meant a little bit of censoring. The Christmas of James's 8th grade year, grandmother gifted him with a book entitled The Darwin Award, a satirical collection of humanity's worst traits. When James opened the book, he found that grandmother had conveniently blacked out the inappropriate segments of the book, leaving much to James's imagination. These lessons didn't stop with James. Reflecting on grandmother's influence in our lives this past week, we all drew specific experiences that shaped who we are today. She taught Amy dedication when she asked Amy to drive her to a monthly sewing gathering during one of Rhode Island's harshest blizzards. She taught Taryn humility when she created a matching school uniform for her American Girl doll and had her pose with the doll for her school photos. She taught me to be proud, even 2 weeks ago when she was telling her caretaker I was featured in the Journal as a famous theater director. Not yet, grandmother. No pressure. She taught Christiana how to be an entrepreneur when she would buy out her peanut butter patty stock from Girl Scout Troop 47. And she taught Joe to be clear and precise after he spent the afternoon shoveling and he asked for some hot cocoa and she returned with a microwave glass of Coca-Cola. Each of these lessons will be carried throughout the rest of our lives. But the most important lesson that grandmother taught us was tradition. Every Sunday morning, for as long as we can remember, our dad would visit grandmother to discuss the current event of the world, the country, and most of all, Mount Pleasant. Before his passing, James and Dominic were included in this exclusive meeting of the minds, to which they continued until grandmother's death. The self-proclaimed brain trust may have lost her ladyship, but it will be held in their hearts forever.
In closing, I'm reminded of a quote taped to the kitchen wall of Cathedral Avenue, grandmother's home for over 60 years. It reads, "Do not walk through time without leaving worthy evidence of your passage." Undoubtedly, grandmother accomplished her goal. Through the many lives she touched, not just those in her own family, but those she made feel like family, she has truly made worthy evidence of her passage in her 90 years on this earth. Any one of us can give you stories that former residents, students, exchange students, and friends have shared with us, citing evidence of the difference she made in their lives. Perhaps most touching, though, was a message recently sent from Madeline, a current resident who is invaluable, especially in grandmother's last month with us, often jumping in to care for her and stay with her on overnight shifts as needed. It was sent to my Aunt Rosemary, and it reads, "Rosemary, thank you so much for Ducky." Ducky was one of grandmother's most cherished dolls. It was given to Madeline as a gift. "I loved your mom so, so much. She took me in as a daughter since we met when I graduated PC. This year, I don't know how I could have gotten through school without her unconditional support. She treated me with so much dignity and compassion when I struggled to make ends meet. I am so grateful with life for putting me in her path. I will still take care of her doll as much as she did. I hope to have a daughter someday so I can give her this precious gift. I will try to keep Rosalie's legacy and memory alive through acts of kindness, the same kindness and love she shared with me."
Thank you.